Well, what happens is Coachman comes out, announces it's going to be Cena and Lashley versus Booker and Orton as the main event. And Foley and Umaga, because Vince didn't like Foley and he admired Umaga. And here we go. Meltzer would say this: Foley versus Umaga was supposed to be Foley's first singles match on Raw in 7 years, but it technically never got started. They brawled outside the ring. Foley clocked Umaga with a chair shot to the head, which Umaga barely sold. Umaga then super kicked the chair into Foley's face and did the running hip attack to Foley, knocking his head into the ring steps. And Foley sold the KO, and they had the ref call it off before it even started. This was one of those educational knockout endings with Foley being all glassy eyed. To me, it doesn't make sense to do that to a guy who was in line for a title main event on the final show before the pay per view, to lay out a babyface challenger by someone who isn't even a participant in the title match. That is, unless Umaga will somehow play a part in Foley's story at the pay per view. I guess we'll see, but at the moment, it sure did come off strange, particularly because the first thing you did was question whether or not Foley would be injured and out of the match. It was addressed later with Lawler saying that he expected Foley would be there, but no definitive word was given before the show went off the air. We'll talk about the silliness of the booking in a minute.
Yeah.
So, Umaga gone way too soon. Another super talented performer we have to talk about in past tense. What did you think of working with Umaga?
Well, it wasn't that I minded working with him. I minded working with him that close to the show in something that didn't benefit the main event at all. That match would not have counted towards my 3. That was kind of like a bonus thing. I would go through these phases where, like, you got to, figure out which hills you're going to die on, be willing to die on. The Umaga match was not one that I was willing to die on. The Vince angle where he was blown up, that was one that I would, that's a hill I was willing to climb and die on because I just felt really strongly about that. So if you can't come in with 2 arguments. You've got to keep it, I guess technically you can. I just feel for the more effective argument, you keep it limited to 1, which is this, which I thought was like a tasteless and confusing angle that had led a decent portion of our audience to believe that Mr. McMahon had died. And I just didn't think that was territory we should be crossing with our show. We're supposed to take people's minds off their problems. I guess in some ways we do create new problems by having our characters who they have emotional investments in get themselves in situations. But, you love that. You love to watch a good TV show. I think that's different than feeling and being led to believe through really believable pyrotechnics that the owner of WWE has perished. So I just, I was more concerned with that. And I did not like the idea that, I lost this match so quickly. Only because it had nothing to do with it, only because it not only did it have nothing to do with the main event match, but that it hurt the match in the sense that it gave fans even less of an idea that I had a chance to win that thing. And I think when you get out there in the best case scenario, it's like any man can win at any time. And we've just seen one of the participants squashed, as Meltzer said, first Raw match in 7 years. Not a great way to make a statement.
Unfortunately,